And it was a multiple construction, not just the painting that we had.
Good afternoon. I'd like to call today's meeting of the Forest of Beach Commission to order at 2:30 on Thursday, March 12th, 2026. I'd like to,
Commissioner Burling? Here. Commissioner Brzezowski? Here. Commissioner Ross?
Here.
Commissioner Ruda?
Here.
Chair Mickey?
here.
Thank you.
I'd like to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any announcements today by anybody's staff? Okay. I'm going to go ahead and go into public appearances. Members of the public are entitled to speak on matters of municipal concern, not on the agenda. During public appearances, each person's comments shall be limited to 3 minutes or as otherwise established by the chair. While stating your name is optional, it helps to identify the speaker in the meeting minutes. Under the Brown Act, public comment for matters on the agenda must relate to that agenda item, and public comments for matters not on the agenda must relate to the subject matter jurisdiction of this legislative body. Remote or in-person participants who do not comply with the requirements of the Brown Act will be muted. So we'll go ahead and have one thing on our consent agenda for today, the meeting minutes from February.
For approval of the minutes, we just letting you know we're going to do an administrative correction. Commissioner Brzezowski was absent, but it was an excused absence, so that just wasn't really noted, and I want to make sure that's corrected.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Can I get a motion, please?
I move to approve the minutes from February.
Commissioner Burling?
Yes.
Commissioner Brzezowski?
Yes.
Commissioner Ross?
Yes.
Commissioner Ruda?
Yes.
Chair Mickey?
Yes.
Thank you. This motion is passed.
Okay. So we were going to have a public hearing today, but that has been postponed for a future meeting, so we'll go ahead and move on to orders of business.
Do we need to, do we need to make an official motion to continue that event?
I think so.
Do we need to make a motion to continue it?
Yes.
Okay. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion that we continue the discussion of the pine on Junipero, or, yeah, Junipero until next meeting.
I second.
Commissioner Burley?
Yes.
Commissioner Brzezowski?
Yes.
Commissioner Ross?
Yes.
Commissioner Ruda?
Yes.
Chair Mickey?
Yes.
Thank you. This motion is passed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, first up on orders of business is to receive a presentation on the city's past beach maintenance and sand redistribution by Rob Culver. Hi, Rob.
I'll give a brief possible first. I'll go over some things and
Since she asked for public comment.
show some photos and then open up to questions.
I know.
Yeah.
Tahoe.
Okay, you go to the next one. Okay, Carmel, Public Works has been using heavy equipment, dozers to redistribute sand on the beach since the early 1960s. The purpose of pushing sand uphill is to compensate for the sand that is moved downhill during the summer and winter months for storm erosion. The sand redistribution of the entire beach continued annually or as needed until 2015. And I think mainly it was discontinued mainly just to budget constraints at the time. And from 2015 to present, Public Works has rented a small compact track loader just to do spot repairs and cover rocks and the exposed sandstone at the Del Mar dunes and the volleyball dunes. Since then, we have purchased one so we can do it more regularly now, towards the spring. The timing of the major dozer redistribution starts in early spring through late summer. That's after the natural sand is returned after the storms have all subsided. And the limits of the sand distribution start at the Del Mar dunes and south to Santa Lucia, covering all the shoreline rock revetments and staircase exposures and sandstone that's exposed. I have a few photos that you can just scroll through these really quick. You can see how when we use the dozer, we're able to push it up all the way, cover all the revetments up to the, basically sometimes all the way up to the scenic. And this one's looking just between 8th and 9th. And that's Del Mar. You can see we cone it off, and there's always a flagger that stands by and directs pedestrians around the equipment. What's this next one? Some of these photos got washed out, so you can't really tell, but that's just a overall view looking north after the sand redistribution. This is 12th Street Cove. You can see it's all the way up to the, covering all the rock revetments. And this is how we do it now, which is a lot. Yeah, we can carry half a yard where a dozer can push 10, 15 yards at a time, so it's, we can't really accomplish much except for the hot spots that we need to cover with our equipment.
Is this a good solution?
It's better than nothing, and without having a full sand redistribution program or a project, yeah.
So just cost-wise, if you said, oh, the little guy is good for now and then, but we really should do a sand redistribution twice a year with a dozer. What is the cost?
The last one that was done in 2015, it wasn't the entire beach, and there was a not to exceed limit of 25,000.
I'm sure that hasn't changed in 11 years, that price.
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah, equipment rates have gone up
Yeah, I
drastically
know,
since then.
sure.
I have a question. and I don't want to open up a can of worms, but is this an opportunity to also get rid of some of the driftwood that comes up on the beach at the same time? Or is this like off limits and don't even touch it kind of question?
Yeah, from what I understand, the driftwood is natural and
Okay.
needs to remain on the beach.
Okay, fair enough.
But it could be up against the revetments and sand on top of it.
Yes, if there's, in the winter, if there's a one that's, we call it like a battering ram that's obviously, you know, banging up against the staircases, we'll go out and remove it if we're able to. But now we can't do that because we don't have a beach ramp, so we can't get a backhoe down there. But we can do it with the track loader, but it's rather small for large pieces of driftwood.
Is there a reason we wouldn't go back to using a dozer and being able to, because there's a lot of benefit to having those revetments covered every year, right? Like part of the engineering assessment that they're doing is that those are getting damaged, right? Because they're not being covered. So is there a reason why we wouldn't be advocating to get a dozer to go back to doing what we used to do?
We could, it's just, we have to budget for it and
get that approved, but
Get
we
that
are
moving,
pushing for
yeah.
that. The bottom line is knowing this and knowing what we're experiencing and the history of where we are, how we got here today, and things were removed from the budget. We're pushing back on that, especially now that you can actually see the visible erosion. Now, the erosion currently that you see along the beach is more rain infused as opposed to wave infused, because it's coming from above, which we're working on right now. My project manager and I were getting the design, and we're gonna have an emergency repair on that 11th Avenue, but also capping what the causes of that erosion from above. But this will help protect the infrastructure, especially as we're doing the stairs, the beach stairs. We want to protect that and have more of a protection barrier during the winter months.
I wonder if you could call it like just how we've had come through this like deferred 3-year tree catch-up program. Like, is there a deferred beach sand program or something? Because clearly we've had like 11 years of deferred maintenance that's left all the revetments exposed. I mean, this
Right,
you could argue is
right.
you need a catch-up plan to get it fixed, and then you have a maintenance plan. right?
Exactly.
Especially if you consider this one of the very best, most beautiful, well-known parts of our town.
Beautiful beach.
Well, this is also part of the beach sustainability thing that the contractor says.
Correct.
Right.
This really should be something
Part
that
of
we
that.
put into place from now going forward to keep the beach
Right.
from eroding going
Exactly.
forward, so.
So
that
what
is
does
one of the
a-
recommendations.
What does a D5 or D7 or D10 bulldozer cost?
To buy?
Yeah,
Well, he would know that one. That's,
Probably a couple $100,000.
be nice to have one.
Every beach in Southern California has them.
How many times a year did you do this, sort of pre-2015, to keep it?
Once a year,
Just once a year?
yes.
Can you rent this?
Yes.
You can rent those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have we been, are we considering renting?
We've talked about it, but we're still waiting for the sand to return that's already been,
Okay.
can't
washed
push it
away.
out.
There's nothing, yeah, you don't have the sand back, it's not
Yeah,
Correct.
beneficial at this point.
right.
I don't know how much more you have to your presentation. If you have more, would you like to kind of carry on and we can just ask you questions at the
Sure,
end, or?
yeah. No, that was all the thing I had, but
Okay,
I'm willing to take questions.
okay, okay,
How
thank you. I just
about,
wanted to
how
interrupt
about
you.
other, were there any other measures? Because I recall we've had people say there were things we did to protect for the winter. So was this the only thing? We pushed the sand like in the summer as a mitigation for the winter?
Even,
Every October, we trim and do storm drain inspections, so we trim all the outfalls and make sure there's, sand isn't blocking any of the storm drain outfalls. As far as pre-winter maintenance, that's really it.
And that hasn't stopped? That's still
No, that's
ongoing?
continuous, yeah.
What would be your recommendation, since you've been here for a long period of time, to sort of bring the beach back to a better place?
Yeah, I would suggest reinstating the sand redistribution projects. yeah.
Okay. So this year, you don't think there's enough sand quite yet? We're sort of at the beginning of spring.
Yeah.
Would you anticipate in the coming months that we would have enough sand before the summer? And
Yes.
perhaps we do it
I'm
again?
sure we would, yeah.
And we could rent?
Yeah, we didn't
Yeah.
lose as much
Okay.
as we typically do, so.
Okay.
So Ken, I had a question for you on the consultant's report about the beach. There were kind of a couple other suggestions they made that were low cost, maybe to protect some of the erosion. And one of them was taking some of the logs and implanting them and covering them with sand.
Most definitely.
That was one of them. And another one was kind of building a levee
Yes,
so that with sand, so that it doesn't kind of flood the beach.
most definitely.
Are those things we should look at to, even whatever that happens with that report, as kind of strategies to help the beach erosion, period? Because it
Most
sounds
definitely.
like, and there may have been a couple more, but those were the two I remember.
Sure, very good question. And so a lot of these recommendations that we got in, they're great tools and things that we could do. Our next step, which through my project manager and I were looking at getting the engineering designs on what we need to do to protect that whole shoreline. What other tools we can do, and of course, that's all a cost
Yeah.
in itself. One of the, if we just swag guess, one of the repairs on the erosion, we're looking at doing the scenic trail. If you look at the DG, the decomposed granite along that trail, it's just all off and it's not well balanced and it's creating divots, so it's causing focused erosion on certain areas. We want to do that, get that done right, and have something a little bit more strong. It's DG, but what do you call it?
Granite Creek?
Granite Creek, which lasts a little longer, so we don't have to go back there every year and really, but, and then just managing that. So we're looking at now doing a design from 8th and to 11th, but we're thinking the construction could be for the work, for the whole work, is like, you're looking at about close to $1 million of work, so you gotta fund these type of things. But, so we can come up with the best plans, but now it's like implementation of those plans. So we are working on designs. It's on our budget for also next year, carrying over some of the dollars that we have this year that we didn't get spent on any of the shoreline work we're doing, to continue that work and picking up the pace and scale. I have one project manager managing, the multiple projects, so she's trying to do her best juggling all those.
So the beach, there in the winter, the past several years, we've had these like ponds, still water
Yeah.
pooling up on the top of the beach, right?
Yes.
From the pictures you showed, it looks like that if you were doing the sand redistribution in the summer, they all looked sloped.
Yes.
So it would mitigate those kind of ponds and still stagnant water
It definitely
on the
could.
beach, right? Which is like
Yes.
harmful to the ecosystem, right? So it seems like, is there anything that we can do to support you in this next budget cycle to make sure that we can get a dozer on the beach
Very
at the
good
appropriate
point.
time this summer?
We're definitely pushing this forward and when we come up to budget at council, you're more than welcome to come up even from a resident perspective and say, we totally support this, or from a commission perspective and say, we totally support, that line item that we're requesting for sand redistribution. It's a constant it's really a maintenance.
It's
More so than
that's
a
why I was saying,
CIP.
is there a catch-up?
So
Is
we're
there-
working on that, adding that as Rob was talking about, once we get enough sand, we can look at getting something now with what budget we have for this year and see if we can fit that in there to get some work done this year from the budget we have, and then start making that a normal cycle in our budget planning process.
Is it a true statement the revetments were covered until 2016?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
Yeah,
They need to
were.
be covered,
Yeah.
right?
You
So,
mean covered in sand?
it's covered.
yeah. Because right now, one of the issues, right, like I remember when we walked the beach a few years ago.
Right,
Remember
right.
with at the very beginning of this coastal program?
Right.
We walked the beach and they were pointing out how the revetments were being exposed and they needed
Right.
some shoring up, et
Sure.
cetera. But, if they had some driftwood and sand, maybe,
We're not pushing the sand back up, so it's getting washed back in much easier. Is there anything we're not allowed to touch when you're doing these sorts of projects, that kind of going back to the driftwood, or when there's ponding? Are there certain things that you are not allowed
Yeah,
to
we're not
touch.
allowed to remove driftwood. Ponding that's naturally occur on the beach, we can't like dig a trench to drain it. It has to drain on its own. And while pushing sand with the dozer, we have to stay above the mean high tide line.
Right.
And we have to stay 100 feet away from Pescadero Creek.
Do you feel like if you kept up with this, that we wouldn't have some of the things like ponding? If we were able to keep it more level, and that we would probably not lose as much sand if we were getting the sand out of the tide area and we're pushing it up?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct, yeah.
So there are some easy things we could probably do to keep some of the sand that we're not keeping right now?
Yes.
Okay. That's good information.
Did I not hear you correctly? Without the road, you can still get the bulldozer down?
We can, a dozer, yes, we can.
A
get
dozer, okay. Just come down on Del Mar?
Yeah, but nothing like we have a backhoe that we used to do
Oh,
things with.
okay.
Anything with tires, we just can't climb the hills with,
Okay.
yeah. So the tracks. with the
Any-
tracks
How
are
was the
great.
backhoe used? You used a backhoe? What was that used for?
We use it on the beach to bury seals, to cover the bottom of staircases that needed sand. That was before we had this track loader and before the equipment ramp washed out, so. We haven't had the access with the backhoe down there since 2022, 23 with the big storms. Yeah.
Any other questions for Rob?
I
Yvette,
would
is
just be
there-
in favor of however we can support you
Thank
reinstating
you.
a
Absolutely.
program like this. I think it's really
I
important.
appreciate that, yes.
Really
Yeah,
important.
We do find this, it's.
Do you have an idea about what it is to rent
I don't.
the
I can
machine?
look into
Okay,
it.
maybe we could look into that, because it sounds like what it would save us would be worth whatever, you know.
I mean, these
Right.
pictures would be great to show at the upcoming budget meeting, because this little one is, what did you say, a yard versus 10 yard? I mean, we're kidding ourselves if we think that we're able to do what, it doesn't,
Well, we do,
Yeah.
we do want to use this down there just to make it safe, because the
Yeah.
exposed sandstone at Del Mar, there's holes in it where
And
ankles can be twisted, so we try to keep it safe.
So I just looked, a D5 or a D7 dozer you can get for 400K to 750K with the trailer. And it seems to me like you could use that for other things than just pushing sand too, right?
Right.
So.
Well, this
it
is
seems-
good. This is what you use, like, for example, if you have a dead sea animal that you're allowed to move,
Yes.
you might use something like this and even be able to bury it if you're burying it or moving it, or this is what you use?
Yes.
Yeah.
Track
so,
loader.
Yeah. I've seen that. It does really good work for that, so.
but if you could only have one, do you own this?
We do.
Yeah, if you could only have one piece of equipment and budget's an issue, you could always sell this and get something better, right? Like
This thing's been useful for more than just, digging, and moving dirt, sand. It has all these other components, so it's like this big moored component, it's got a big brush and sweeper, it's got
Okay,
all
so
these,
keep
that's
both,
very.
but I guess I just.
But I know what you're saying.
But I think the point you're making, that you've made really well, and I really appreciate your time on this presentation, is that what we're doing is insufficient, and we've had 11 years of, without
Not-
maintenance.
right.
And now
Like
we
this-
have all our revetments exposed, and we have, structural engineers telling us it's gonna be millions of dollars to fix them, and it might actually, getting the sand back up over them every year.
Well, if it's only used once a year, not that we couldn't use it more, but renting it, I think, this one is probably used pretty regularly, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's been,
So
Great
might be
assets,
good to
right.
keep that one, but maybe look at renting. I'd be really curious to find out if we could follow up, maybe in a follow-up report of yours. I'd just be curious what the rental amount is, because we're in the right time frame, right? We can still do this
yes, we get.
in the coming
planning,
months. Yeah,
get
that would be
things set up
great.
For
Okay,
probably May after our,
So before the
official
summer.
winter season is over.
okay, that'd be great. Does anybody else have any questions? Or in the audience, or online, Yvette?
That's good.
Anyone online? Rob, thank you so much.
Yes,
That was
you're
really helpful. I appreciate
Yeah.
you coming in. We really
Thanks,
appreciate
Rob.
it.
Yeah. Okay,
Thank you. Thanks so much. Okay. All right, we are, is this for you,
This is for me.
Director Wysocki?
This is
Okay,
for
we're going to
me.
receive an update on the development of the draft Carmel Forest Management Plan.
Bring up the presentation.
Okay.
It's It's more of a pointer, it's not, I don't have pictures, nice pictures, I'm sorry. But it's in a colorful lime green for you all. All right, thank you. So, we can go to the next slide. What's the purpose of this presentation is to provide the council, the commission, an update on our draft management plan, the forest management plan. But I also want to talk about the history and all the work that we got us to where we are today. There's been a lot of work since the start of this journey. I also want to explain the CEQA process, the California Environmental Quality Act review process, and then the next steps from there. So next slide. So I know I'm preaching to the choir, but everybody knows Carmel is a village in the forest by the sea. The forest management plan is a strategic management and guidance document for the city on how the city will care for, protect, and sustain its forest resources over time. And it's not a regulatory ordinance, and it's not a project approval document. Instead, it provides a framework and direction for our day-to-day decision-making about trees in our forests. Currently, the current effort to update the Forest Master Management Plan began in late 2021. Recognizing the need to incorporate updated science, improved data, and contemporary management practices while maintaining the unique character of Carmel's forested landscape. Next slide, please. I just want to remind everybody that the management plan is a living document. So what we do, or what we finally approve and get through to the finish line on a management plan can get updated over time. So as new science comes available, understanding evolves, and the plan can be updated. Next slide, please. So this update, as I mentioned earlier, has been result of a multi-year collaboration effort, a collaborative effort involving community members, subject matter experts, and advisory bodies. And I have the dates in here, but I'll just briefly touch on those here. Is in 2021, this is when we initiated the forest management plan update, and it was led by the then city forester. I don't know the name, but
Sarah.
thank you. Before I was here. 2022, the city retained Davy Tree expert company to conduct a comprehensive citywide tree inventory and canopy assessment, and providing data on species composition, age distribution, and our forest conditions. Our new city forester, Justin, just started in 2023, and he brings with him such in-depth additional arboricultural science expertise to guide this plan's development. In November of 2023, also there was a community survey that was conducted to gather residents' priorities, concerns related to the stewardship. In a time frame between 2023 and 2024, there were multiple community workshops and visioning sessions that were held to gather public input on the plan's goals and strategies. I know the Forest and Beach Commission between 2024 and 2025 had some review some segments of the draft over 6 public meetings, I believe that I counted, providing ongoing feedback and direction. In 2024 November, the city engaged an independent ecologist, Nikki Native. She has an expertise in Carmel's local ecosystem, and so she helped review the drafts and provided some additional scientific input. I started in May of 2025, and I have a strong background in education, ecosystem management, forestry, and arboriculture. And I also did my technical review of the plan, and incorporated any refinements. In October of 2025, we had a steering committee, we had a workshop, which included a presentation by our independent ecologist, Nikki. And then 2026, January, a few months ago, the steering committee and also community participants provided additional written comments and feedbacks, which were reviewed and incorporated where appropriate. So bottom line, throughout this process, first off, throughout this process, the draft management plan has been available to the public on our city websites. And this has been a multi-year effort, which has resulted in a community-informed, science-based draft forest management plan that reflects the collective knowledge, science, experience, and values shared by the residents, professionals, and advisory bodies. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, the next step in the process is our California Environmental Qualities Act review. We engage an outside environmental consultant, DUDEC, to review the plan and provide recommendations regarding the appropriate CEQA pathway. Now, I just want to note, DUDEC does not determine policy direction or approve the plan. Their role is just to ensure that the city complies with the state environmental review requirements before the plan proceeds through the formal adoption process. Next slide. So the CEQA review process evaluates whether the forest management plan could result in significant environmental impacts. Because the management plan is a policy level document that provides guidance rather than authorizing site-specific construction or vegetation removal, it may qualify for a CEQA exemption. You might have heard that in previous, but I just want to note that that determination has to be formally analyzed and documented by DUDEC. And the timeline of this process will depend on the outcome of that CEQA determination. In other words, if the plan qualifies for a CE or a categorical exceptions, the CEQA process will be completed in a shorter time period. But if it requires more, an additional environmental review, it'll take a longer process, which includes a formal public review periods and would take longer. Next steps. So the next steps is we're going to complete this environmental CEQA review, bring it back to the commission. We can have further conversations about the current plan, the management plan. Once the Forest and Beach Commission makes a recommendation to approve and move this plan forward, it will go to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission will do a public review and also any recommendations, and they will recommend to the City Council for public hearing and consideration adoption. And each one of this, during each opportunities, the public now, but also during the process, can continue to provide input throughout that process. So when we have our public meetings, the community and the public can provide information and feedback. And that's it for that part of the presentation.
I had a question. Keeping that slide up there, if I were to draw a little flow chart, if any of the Forest and Beach or Planning Commission or City Council makes a change to the document, do we go directly back to completion of CEQA review and through that process again?
That all depends. I mean, if there's added language, I would say we'd have to re-review if there was a change in direction.
Okay.
Now, if there was correction to, changing a certain words or maybe adding something that is not affects the environmental impact, saying, hey, in order to move this forward, you need to add a commission. That doesn't require a CEQA review to do that part.
Okay, thank you.
So if there's no other questions on that presentation, I'll go over the recent letter that everybody received.
Okay, and do we have anybody online that has any questions? For this time before we move on to the next? Okay.
So I don't have a presentation for this next part, but I wanted to put this out on record. Several of us, the commission and also the council, I believe, received a letter, and it was signed by Dr. Chad Hansen and others that were on that list, and I really appreciate it. First, I want to acknowledge and appreciate that input and from the community members. Carmel residents really care deeply about our forests and that we share the commitment. The shared commitment is something we all value, and ultimately everyone involved in this decision and discussion is working towards the same goal, a healthy, resilient forest for Carmel-by-the-Sea, bottom line. But I want to clarify an important point that appears to have caused some confusion. So the forestry work referenced in the 2023 was part of what the staff called the catch-up plan. Remember that? There was in that comment that says, it was a logging plan. And that was that catch-up plan that you all had some time ago. It was approved and saying, because of work that was deferred maintenance. So it was addressing the deferred maintenance and any of the hazardous mitigation. But that operational work is separate from the forest management plan, now under review. And I know Justin has been working really hard and pretty much caught up on our forest catch-up plan. But the draft forest management plan is not a logging plan, bottom line. It does not authorize commercial logging or large-scale tree removal. It is a policy and stewardship framework intended to guide how the city manages and regenerates its urbanized forest over time. The plan focuses on improving the forest health through proactive maintenance, strategic planting of native species such as the Monterey pine, coastal live oak, and Monterey cypress, and better data and monitoring, community stewardship, and a responsible wildfire preparedness. The goal is to preserve and strengthen our forest canopy, not reduce it. So I'm almost done. It's important to note that the forest management plan itself does not approve any specific tree removals. The existing permit processes, environmental review requirements, and the city's tree ordinance continues to apply for any future actions. But we do, the staff, all of us, appreciate the thoughtful comments that have been submitted and look forward to continued discussions with the commission and the community as we refine this plan. Again, I will repeat it, Carmel has always been known as the village in the forest, and this plan intends to help ensure that future generations inherit the same remarkable landscape that defined our community.
Could you back up a little bit and talk about how you got this message, this email, who it came from, maybe a little bit of context surrounding it? Because that would help me, because I didn't get it until this morning. I just started reading it a little bit. That would be useful context, if that's possible.
Yeah, let me see if I can find that. Give me a second here. Almost there. I should have a MacBook instead of an iPad. Comments. So we received a letter, and it's signed by, let me pull it all the way to the bottom here of the letter. Dr. Chad Hansen, who's a wildfire scientist and director of John Muir Project of Earth and Island Institute. Maya, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name, Kosla, who's got a master, is an ecologist, who's also a Sequoia Forest Keeper member, and Craig Swollengard, who's also an ecologist at Sequoia Forest Keeper. And they sent a letter commenting our current master plan, our management plan. Our current management plan. And there were great comments and well thought out, and I really appreciate it. And but a lot of terminology I used there was like we're using logging. This is a logging plan, and because there was a reference in Appendix B that talked about that catch-up plan that was from 2023, I believe it was. So it looked like there was a lot of removals. It was like about that plan, but there's nothing in the actual base of the plan that talks about what are we removing or increase the pace and scale of removal. It's really increased the pace and scale of the health of our forest. So they've just provided comments because those type of things stood out. It could look like, hey, you've got this program from 2023. This looks like what you're doing. You're removing trees, increasing that, and that's not really the case.
So a
But they're
couple,
not, they weren't
Would you
local.
say
no,
your
can I?
Wait a sec, let him finish. Would you say your sentence again? They said we were ruining trees? What do you
We
say?
were logging, so we're removing, not ruining, removing a lot more instead of keeping the forest health. And also a lot of science, which they're talking about, is a fire-resistant forest is one that's just left alone, like allowing it to grow, which, so they had all this research and science, so that's what they were presenting. So what I want to just cover is this, what this management plan is. It's not a prescription. It's more of a direction.
So, couple things. I got this separate from you, and it came from a group called the Carmel Trust for Native Forest Science. And that's where it came from. And I can't tell them this if they engaged these scientists or if the scientists, or if they just, it's not clear if the scientists did this analysis and they found it, or if they engaged, I can't tell. So that came out from that group, and that's about all it says, is that that's the group it's coming from. And I just wanted to make another point, because I talked about this, because I had a question about that spreadsheet that's Exhibit B. And, you know, my first question is, this is our work plan? And Ken's first response was, look closer. All it says is, it's an example of a work plan.
Yes.
It is a sample of a work plan. It is not our actual work plan.
Correct.
And if you look at the verbiage on the page before it, it really does outline, saying very clearly, this is not our work plan.
Right.
So that was important to me as I was reading it. That's like, wait a minute, that's not an actual work plan.
Right.
It sounds like that while all comments are always welcome, there was several points that were taken out of context and didn't reflect.
I wanted to make sure,
A
that's why I
good
gave the
understanding,
speech I did,
yeah.
just so it help provide clarity, and maybe there's a look at verbiage, maybe we look at changing some of the text so it doesn't get lost in that translation, but it definitely, yeah, I just want to make sure on record that what this plan is and what we vision it. I mean, Justin and I both, and I know all of us here do,
Yeah.
but Justin and I are really focusing on how do we, and Renee, I mean, planting more. He's increased the pace and scale of planting and putting, you know, more trees and reestablishing trees and keeping the trees we do have healthy, you know, for a longer period of time. And when trees are categorized, I think in the Davie report, they had the categories. Just because a tree marks it as maybe poor, and it doesn't mean it's removal. Like, in one of the comments, they says like 9% is poor. Well, it doesn't mean it's removal. It means monitoring, it means maybe some pruning, maybe some work that has to be done to help protect the tree. Because we want to protect these valuable assets rather than remove valuable assets.
I'd like to really comment on the sentence you said at first, that Carmel has always been seen as the village in the forest, and that is simply not true. That Devendorf did plant a lot of trees early because he wanted it to look as though it wasn't just a stark open thing. But even those early ones did not plant between their house and the ocean. The ocean was a big part of what people wanted. And you sent us the picture of 1952, but anything from an angle makes the forest look like it totally covers. And I'm the only one who was here in 52 and 62 and probably 70 and 80. So people, I have often asked tourists why they come. They never say the forest. I have never, ever said anyone said the forest. And the statistics that group what was that group called, that did the workup, you know, and they did the big sheets of, that we paid $160,000.
Oh, Davie. Davie.
Oh, Davie.
That would make you
Yes,
remember.
yes, that, exactly.
But they did a study, and there were a small percentage who
Right.
wanted more trees. And the bulk was satisfied with the way it was, but quite a few want less trees. So I think we need to not think of us just needing to produce trees. We need to think a little bit about the ocean and our connection with the ocean. Or we could start meeting at Neil's and look at the ocean the whole time.
And that's a great point, and we do have it in our management plan about view sheds. I mean, there's a sentence in there about view sheds, but there's also in there, it talks about right tree, right place, like where do we put the right tree, right place? And it's not a matter of just like, just keep planting like crazy, but if there was an empty well or a tree that came down and stump ground, and this is a perfect healthy place to put a tree, we're gonna put a tree at that location. Well, good point,
Yeah.
thank you.
And this is a local group. They've got a 501c3 that they've started. So it's a local group from what it sounds like. And they've had a lot of input from scientists around the world, I guess. And that sort of is how we came to this.
Well, when we got inundated with trees was when the Friends of the Forest came in 87. They were locals and they formed in 87. And then for about the next 30 years, they planted trees like crazy to the point that there was fewer places to park. And it's one of the reasons we're so squeezed in when we drive that if pickups are on both sides of the street, it's actually one lane and so on. So, we got to my way of thinking from what I know it was like before, it got somewhat distorted. And I'd like to see us go back. For instance, if you look at the corner of 13th and Monteverdi, there's a tree there. That's one of our busier streets because it's the first street that comes straight up from the beach at that end. And trucks can barely get through, and I don't mean huge trucks, I mean the trucks. And I think the city planting in the street is kind of a problem anyway, but this one is really interesting. It happens to be the way I walk back up from the beach. And I pull my dog off the side. I wouldn't dare have him right near the road at that point. So I think we really need to look where we're planting things. There's lots of good trees planted, I agree.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, the other thing in this letter that I just thought was a little, maybe you can clarify for me, it kind of makes it lead you to think that we're not spending enough energy on the Forest and Beach Commission on house hardening and fire hardening for lots. I mean, it kind of calls us out saying it's only a paragraph, and can you talk about the CPWW? And because that's, to me, where that's fully and thoroughly addressed, and that us readdressing it is really not appropriate. But am I missing something there?
There's quite a lot of work happening with that right now, right? And do you want to speak on the?
Well, and again, if you read this letter, it kind of makes it sound like we're trying to downplay it, I think are the words in the forest management plan, when in fact.
There's a really significant effort underway that's being led.
By the city.
Spearheaded by Hans Buder on the city council in this whole area about getting focusing on the right priorities. Right. So.
Yeah, and I think that they're waiting, in fact, there's a few of us here that are on that committee, and I think that they're waiting, one, to hear what the state comes back with. I know we just talked about that in our last meeting, to see what the state comes back with, and then how we can incorporate that. We would, of course, have to follow by all new state law, but we can define even more for our community here. So that is being worked on. That's probably, this committee's been in play for almost a year now, about 9 months, probably right after you came on.
Right.
So that will be coming, that is forthcoming, but it's, and we've woven it into our document now, but we're sort of at that point, we don't have all the new state law, so that's where when the director talks about it being a living document, there will be appendices and things that come as we go through more change, is that correct?
Exactly, and then when you write plans like this, especially when you're referencing other plans and other programs like CWPP or the fire defense plan that's in draft form, but the forest management plan complements those other plans. They don't replace it. They don't, because those plans can change, as we saw the state changes where fire severity map, the map changed and updated. So all we're saying we do is look as like, what is the update, current one, and then complement that for fire defense plan.
But the jurisdiction of, like the zero dispensable space area and the home hardening related to building materials and the ease, that's all under the jurisdiction of the planning committee.
Right.
It's actually not ours, and there's a significant amount of work being done there, and I think they're gonna be even considering like emergency ordinances to get out in front of that. So
exactly.
there's a pretty significant and robust effort. I think perhaps the context is that they missed that's really the jurisdiction of planning and not forest and beach.
So I think this is where,
Yeah.
this is a great discussion, right? I've always kind of asked the question, are we all on the same page in terms of what this document is? So thank you, Dr. Basaki, for kind of clarifying that. I think, in my mind, just to kind of spell it out, I look at this as, history and context, intent, strategy, goals and objectives, which should be gray enough. We're not going to get into the gory details in this document and all this stuff. There's too much. If that was the case, we'll never get it done, right? It should spell out the areas we want to be in, like maintain the canopy. There's a whole bunch of work about replanting and all that stuff. Do we have the right number of trees, et cetera? But it's at that level. And so that's how I look at this document. And a lot of great detail will happen once we get it done. That's where I was a little concerned in hearing about this document that came up. Good information. I don't want it to subvert or derail the process of getting this done. It seems like they're talking about details that this document really isn't designed to address.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. And just to add also the defensible space and thank you, Commissioner, inspections and home hardening, that's handled by the Monterey County Fire District and
Monterey Fire Department.
Fire Department, thank you. And under, that's under the California Fire Code. Our program focuses on managing trees and vegetation in public spaces and the overall forest health of our community, so.
That's right.
So is there anything actionable we need to do regarding this email?
Nothing, I mean, just like any comments we get from, like even the whole master plan, we look at that, we look where we can incorporate, we can see where, some of the ideas. I definitely don't want to say that this was, whatever this letter, nothing negative. I mean, I love that people are as passionate as we are about this and wanting to share, and I encourage that. So we'll look at other things that are in there and see if there's anything that we can incorporate that kind of help spell out that plan. I was thinking of some ideas. It doesn't change something drastic that it would affect CEQA, but it's just more of a clarifying in a paragraph so that it's more understood by the community.
Thank you.
I was just noting for the city that there is a, Hans is leading a wildfire.
Yes.
Preparedness.
Overall preparedness committee for the city. And it includes forest and beach and
And
planning.
that's
and
right.
the police and the fire department, right? So it's a pretty it's a multi agency
Jurisdiction,
group
right.
that's coming together to collaborate on these exact topics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's covering all of these areas. I think our forest management plan is coming out just sort of right ahead of some of this, so we have enough information to add some, but I know more will be coming in the next couple of years. And none of this is law yet, so we're all just sort of doing this in anticipation of the laws, the new laws coming down. So the Zone 0 rule and all of that hasn't taken effect yet, but we're getting ready for that to happen. Does anybody else have any questions or comments? The director, no? Do we have anybody online?
Yes. Linda, go ahead.
Yes, wanted to, first of all, just make the comment that that I just read that letter myself, and it was very interesting, but I wanted to just read something from the Forest Management Plan draft, which is in an appendix, and it regards the forest, the fire management element of the Forest Management Plan. It says this fire hazard reduction, this talking about the code that's been adopted by the city, this fire hazard reduction directive could substantially alter the city's skyline, canopy coverage, and ambiance, particularly in residential neighborhoods in the commercial district downtown, where plantings are generally closer than 100 feet from structures. Habitat values created by forested canopies and understory vegetation will diminish, and opportunities for replacing Carmel signature trees as they age out will disappear. So that's a concern I have about this forest management plan, is this internal contradiction and conflict that is within it. And and another thing, if I may, I hope I don't get cut off at 3 minutes. I'm getting a lot of feedback from the public who don't even know that the forest management plan is on the website. And I'm just thinking of that community meeting we had back a year and a half ago at Carpenter Hall, where the whole community seemed to show up all of a sudden. It was really amazing. And how good it would be if we all thought about the Monterey Pine Forest, of which we're a part. I know that Sarah doesn't agree, but we live in the Monterey Pine Forest on the Monterey Peninsula. That's our habitat, that's our ecology. And even at our last workshop, when Nikki Nedeff gave her presentation, I noticed that the commissioners were really quite surprised. It is a steep learning curve to learn about this ecosystem. I've lived here my whole life. My father came here as a boy in 1905. He was a forest pathologist. He spent his time here in the forest and then his career with the U.S. Forest Service. It takes a long time to learn about this forest and to learn about Carmel's history with it. And Nikki's presentation was really excellent, I thought, and people really did enjoy it. And I thought that it'd be really great as part of this process to have another community meeting where she gave her presentation, where the whole community was invited to Carpenter Hall, and we could come with maybe some community input, because the community does feel left out, and even people who ought to know that there were, should have been notified actually, that there were comments were being invited from the public, did not know that. So I'm telling you that from the residents' point of view, I know it's been heavy in duty for you guys, but the public's been kind of feeling left out. And that's really what I wanted to point out to you all. And as a means of kind of slowing down this process, it feels so all of a sudden like everybody's trying to clear it off the desk. But I think slow and easy wins the race. And when you're dealing with an ecosystem as precious and a history as precious as this, and a future that's as uncertain, I think going slower is the better tactic.
Thank you, Linda. I would like to mention too that we do meet once a month, and the director has been giving updates for the past, I would say, 4 to 6 months on where we are in the process. We had our last meeting with the steering committee and with the community in late October of last year, and we had one a year before that in the same month. So I think there are a lot of opportunities, and I would invite people, and perhaps you could extend that to, if they can't be here in person, to do what you do and to come online to get updated, because we try to every month give updates that this is on our website, this is where we are now. So perhaps you could share that, and we could have them join us here or online so they can get more recent updates. But thank you so much, Linda. Is there anybody else, Yvette?
Rami, go ahead.
Hi, Rami.
Thank you for keeping this topic on the agendas. First of all, Ken, thank you for the clarification of the misinterpretation or non-contextual reading of that as a catch-up plan. My concern for the Forest and Beach Commission is that when it comes down to really looking at this with a critical eye, that you'll look closely and make sure that those ambiguous portions are left out, so that down the road, 5, 8 years from now, things aren't misinterpreted, that this is okay to do logging, this is okay to take trees out. It is clearly a detriment with respect to wildfire threat to have forests cleaned out. It allows for more air and more oxygen to circulate in the dense areas, the once dense areas, and let fires go faster. Second of all, I guess my question is to Justin, where is the quote unquote catch-up plan? How much more, if anybody's looked at a percentage, of the forest are we removing in that catch-up plan? And you don't have to answer that at this point. And I'm very, very grateful for Hans' Booter's involvement in Friends of Carmel Forest and for the Carmel Forest Trust group, and that he's bringing planning and fire, all of that together, because it's historically been a problem with the city that all these bodies are working separately and nobody's communicating. I am a residential landscape designer, and I find mixed messages all the time between forestry and fire and 5-foot zero zone, and it's just frustrating to say one thing to clients and then we get other things from planning departments. So I'm very grateful for Hans's help with that. And Sarah, I have to say that I kind of resent hearing your comment that Friends of Carmel Forest has just since 1987 dropped trees into the ground here, there, and everywhere. We have planted a lot of trees, and Carmel would look very, very different if Friends of Carmel Forest didn't step in so many years ago and take a look at what our forest looked like and what was happening to it. And we're continuing to plant trees, and we're continuing to support the city in that effort. We care about this forest. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment, Ramey.
No one at this time.
No one else? Okay, thank you. We'll move on then.
Tamara?
Did you have any
I
more?
just have one comment, which is the catch-up plan keeps coming up, and I think it's really important for people to understand
Right.
that 3-year catch-up plan was to address deferred maintenance of dead, dying, and very poor trees.
Correct.
The poor trees, the poor tree category was not even included in the catch-up plan, if I recall correctly. And I think among the poor trees, it was mostly like pruning. So I think as a matter of public record, like to hear that that's even being referred to as a logging plan or some of these terms that are clearly not accurate is harmful
Yeah.
to the work of our committee. So I don't know, Justin, maybe at some point it would be helpful, just as a point for the record, that was not a logging plan. It was addressing dead, dying, and very poor trees only.
Yeah,
correct?
from the
Yeah.
beginning, we took
Yeah.
the data from the inventory that we received from Davy Tree, and we ran the numbers and found the trees that were dead, dying, in very poor condition, found them on the inventory and send them out to our contractors and to our in-house staff to remove. And while we're doing that, the trees, we removed a lot of trees that were in good condition that were now dead because we had severe storms, severe weather both ways, dry summers when we're used to having fog, dry winters. Forests are changing dynamic things. They're not static. So we're doing our best to not only keep up with the forest condition and the deferred maintenance, but just the changing climatic conditions. It's like a forest up on the hill. There aren't $5 million houses or $100,000 cars in there either, or pedestrians that you have to worry about the tourists, about a tree falling on them.
But when Davey did that inventory, right, I just
Yes.
pulled up the data. We had fully 10% of the inventory were dead trees.
Dying trees.
That were not potential hazards anymore.
Right.
They were hazards, right?
Right.
So that was at the core of your catch-up deferred maintenance plan.
Yes.
So I think that
I think
it's
there's a
just important for
misunderstanding
people, there's a
about-
real misunderstanding. There's no logging going on. There's no desire to remove trees from Carmel willy-nilly, right? This was to address significant deferred maintenance. There were 10% of our inventory was dead,
Hazardous trees.
hazardous trees that were dead. And then there was another, probably 7% of trees that were in very poor condition that were being addressed either by removal or pruning, right? So the evidence-based objective information on that plan is available. And I think it's unfortunate there's such a misunderstanding about that program.
And do you know where we are with that also, Justin? What percentage of the trees of the dead or dying trees have been removed at this point?
I think I put a couple months ago, or as of now,
Just to get a
those,
general-
those numbers, we hit the numbers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's still dead trees, but those are trees that have died
Since then,
So
okay.
we're in,
Okay.
we're in,
Yeah.
Caught up.
maintenance mode.
Right, you're in, just normal death that occurs over, right.
And
Okay.
just to note, since I came on the
Yeah.
commission, for about the whole year, you were reporting on that at every meeting. So at every meeting, you were updating us on
Right.
where we were on that catch-up.
So,
And I think this was really about public safety, right?
Yes.
About removing dead trees that were hazards for public safety.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
That's first and foremost.
That was all that the plan
Yes.
was,
right,
yeah.
right, thank you for clarifying
Sorry,
that.
I just,
No,
I
that's
feel
an
that
important
that's
thing.
important for people to
Logging is a
understand.
very different thing, so I
It's
think
not
it's
logging.
important that we know that. And I know, thank you for the director too, for making that point, and that letter just came into us, so for just clarifying that. So hopefully that's been understood. And then Justin, did you want to go ahead and carry on with the rest of your report?
Oh, yes, now.
Yeah,
start
thank you,
the,
thank you for addressing that. I
The
appreciate it.
January 2026 Foresters Report. I put it on here, but Ken pretty much covered everything that I have sent the draft to Dudek with all of the comments that we've received, and Dudek also received that letter for their review. So now they're gonna update us with the scope of what the review will entail, as Ken had said, and once we get that, we'll know better how much more time this is gonna take. So our contractors are finishing up the grinding of the removals that they've done. They're out there tagging and removing. The problem is we ran into February 1st bird nesting season. So we've have a task order ready to go for each of the contractors, but I'm having our biological consultant have to do the bird surveys ahead of all the pruning and removals until the end of August, at the end of bird nesting season. So our crew removed 6 dead trees, planted 16 trees and pruned 9 trees. So what Renee's been working on with our tree crew is really, I think I brought up last month, we're working on the planting as something set out every Monday. We go plant trees in the morning, do the mitts in the trash. So we're getting ahead of the week, where if we have time, if we don't have our bird surveys back, or if we're working a little light, we can just work on planting. And we're really trying to, once those stumps get ground, go in and work on planting the right trees in the right place with the right species. And we actually did have a few emergencies in February. I put January on, I'm sorry. But we had a few emergencies even outside of those big winds. We had a little blustery weather. We had one on Santa Fe and one on at Del Mar, actually. But and PG&E's starting up their work again, so we've been collecting logs, as is we do forever. We received 15 tree permits and issued 6, with only 1 inspection, which is not related to a permit. 6 prunings, 7 removals, and we required 2 to be replanted. Yeah, can you go down? I was trying to cut down some of the charts that were double used. So right now we're at 89% of our replanting, and I think, as I've said before, is really need to increase the number, maybe 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 for the city trees being removed, because I think that's a better place to plant is when we get a permit for a city tree that's not under the power lines, we can grind that and plant that and then use that just in our bank, our numbers, so we know we're gonna plant maybe 2 or 3 more in a park somewhere, somewhere that they should go. We received 152 tickets from Fresh Desk and responded to 143. It was kind of a light month. I guess it's a shorter month. And we had several holidays, but we got a decent amount of stuff done in February.
Is that it, Justin?
Justin?
Yes.
When you count the number of trees that have been planted, do you include all those huge number of trees that have been planted recently in Forest Trail Park?
Mission trip.
No,
Mission Trail.
no, this is the ones we do.
Oh, okay.
But because Mission Trail has not been surveyed.
Oh,
And I would like to do it, but it's kind of a big undertaking, and I think it would be some, it'd be the best way to do it would be with a drone, and I don't know how that would work privacy-wise and with the neighbors, so.
interesting.
I do have a question on your chart, if you go back a page, Yvette, for me. So I'm still always confused about this. So if you look at February, for example, it says column 5, I think, total removal 7. What is the last column, total number of trees required 2? And I thought generally the rule was for every tree that comes out, a tree gets planted somewhere, not necessarily in place. Would this lead me to believe that your team only thinks you have to plant 2 trees, even though you took out 7?
Well, that's not just this is for the permits. So several permits they met the density, or it was literally nowhere to plant a tree on the site, which is a kind of problem in and of itself.
So these are private.
It's both. So there's also columns for density and no room for new tree. So, and so it says 4, there's 4 total, but some of those could be multiple per site.
I bet you I'll be in the pine cone this week.
What?
Mute. Okay, it's still a little confusing to me. I understand what you're saying, that what this is talking about is more what happens on private.
It's a mix, because this is all permits, and we get permits for public, and we get permits for private.
So if, for example, someone gets a permit in their developing their house and there is no room for a new tree,
Yes.
then you kind of take that off the list of, oh, we need to replace that somewhere? Because I thought that was kind of the goal, that if there was no room for a tree on a lot, that we were kind of looking then it would go somewhere where we had to plant another tree. Am I?
No, you're right.
So this confuses me a little bit, because this would lead me to believe that, oh, even if it's just the 7 that were permitted, we only need to place 2. So we don't really need to replace 7. And I didn't think that was really the case.
I mean,
I'm just wondering about how we keep this kind of idea straight, that,
yeah.
because I mean, even if you look at all of our, when you take out a tree, you're supposed to replant a tree, and if I remember correctly, it's the owner's expense to replant a tree.
Yeah, well, those are all for like development. Like this is all, I put that, it is always on their expense. But.
Can I ask you a question? Is it different if they've already met the number of trees that they should have? Because you remove trees and they have twice as many trees on their property. Is it a different?
Yeah, I mean, like if it's a 4,000 square foot lot and it's got 10 trees.
Right.
And they can ask, well, I've got enough trees to it. Can I just not replant?
So you don't have to each time plant a tree if a person has one that is removed, if they've exceeded
Yeah,
Yeah.
what we've recommended. So maybe
Yes.
that's where some of the numbers aren't.
yeah, but I do think that Harry does make a good point that we should be capturing that, and even if they do have enough room, it's like, well,
Planted in the city.
plant
or
it somewhere
something.
else.
Pay and in lieu.
Yeah.
Okay.
And following
That's a
up
good
on
point.
that, yeah. If I understand correctly, in the municipal code, it states that we really need to be tracking on an annual basis for 5 years to make sure a new tree is growing. Is that true?
Oh, yes.
Are we doing that?
No.
I believe I said before, it was on the honor system.
Okay.
It's, I mean, we should be, and we tell them they need to replant, and we give them there's a tag that they put on the tree to make sure that they don't move it, cut it, remove it, but we don't have the staff to follow up on it.
Right, so the reality is right now, we don't know if, when somebody replants a tree, whether it's alive or not. And me personally, I find that to be a little bit troublesome. So my request is gonna be, can we prioritize this somehow? Because I feel like this is a high priority item. And I'll just say that.
Well, and this is education for me, so just help me understand. So there is, if someone comes to you and they have a 4,000 square foot lot and they've got plenty of trees and they need to take one down, there's no requirement that they replace it. We say you don't have to put it back on the lot, but there's also they don't pay in lieu of fee at all to get something planted somewhere else where it's appropriate for a tree. Is that right?
Not right now.
Wait, you mean if they meet the density, if they have a lot of trees?
I guess my point is, and maybe this is a
I get what you're
wishful.
saying.
Is
It's
that-
when people remove trees and if they can't plant back there, there's an in lieu
Yeah.
of fee, so that it goes into our pockets to go plant the tree from a fund. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's my question.
I don't think we have that in place right now. That would be a new policy.
It's a great
Because I
idea.
think it is a great idea. I think
It's-
in the past, if even before the commission, when people have been above the tree requirement or at the requirement, they haven't always,
Recommendation.
they haven't always had a requirement to pay an in lieu to plant a tree somewhere else in the city. It's a great policy idea, just one comes down anywhere, one goes up, even if you don't have to put it on your lot.
Right.
But that's not the current policy.
I think especially if we're falling under what is recommended. So if somebody's gone from, say, 6 trees and they need to take out 2, they've died or what have you, and they're falling under what is recommended, but they don't have the space because the trees have matured on their lot. I think that's a good opportunity for us to use that because it is recommended, at least at this time, that they would have 2 more trees, let's say, that they would pay an in lieu fee, and then we plant it somewhere in this city, and
That's appropriate.
that's appropriate. I know
Yeah.
we've done that. We made a ruling on that not too long ago, that somebody couldn't put it
We did.
on their property, so we did that. But perhaps, I know Justin runs into this every day, if that's something that we're looking at doing. I think it's a
Yeah.
good idea. I think it's within,
I'll work on that the next couple, when I go out for these next permits, I'll see, find a way to fit that in.
okay.
And
But that would require a policy update, right? Like you can't just start charging people for, if a lot, so the number of trees are just presently recommendations right now and not code. And if someone's meeting the recommendations, even with a removal, right? You can't really prescribe them to pay a fee.
This is falling under recommended, like they're going under what the recommended.
Exactly.
And that is something we're actually talking about on our fine committee too. So that is something that we're addressing.
Oh, good, okay.
so the other question is, supposedly there's a bank account where all the money is going when people need to put money in for a replacement tree or things like that. And I know it's been talked about. Has there been any progress on identifying this account? Who has access to it? How much money is in it?
Yeah, it was found. I don't know who has access to it or how to access it, but I can get you that number.
I think that's an important one too, is I think we've got to figure out how much money is in there, who has access to it, understand what monies are going into it and coming out of it, right? Because that's just like tracking and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's a priority too.
Especially for the tree fines.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if it's $49, that's one thing. If it's $490,000, that's another, it's like,
That's our
That's a
D7
it'd be really
dozer.
nice to know that. There's your dozer.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No?
Okay.
Any questions?
Do we have anybody online?
Yes.
Yvette?
Linda, go ahead.
Yes, I had 2 questions. First of all, Justin, when you're planting Monterey pines, where are you getting the seed stock from? That's question 1. if you could answer that for me at some point.
Linda,
And
this
then-
isn't question and answer. I'll get back to you next week.
Okay, okay, but also on that subject, Dr. Rogers, in her guidance to the city, recommends that when you plant a pine, you should plant more than one, 2 or 3, to assure that at least one survives, and that they should be from genetic stock that is appropriate in terms of location and place in the structure to the best possible extent. And I'm thinking that there are a lot of trees that are dying here now that'll probably come down, and I think it's important to save those seeds. I'm not sure whether that's being done, and I wanted to encourage that. Also, just it used to be that when you took a tree down on your property, you were required to replace it, and that is what our general plan says. I think that's the general guidance that it gives in the general plan, in the coastal resource element, management element. If you read through that, I just wanted to urge people to read that element of our general plan.
Thank you, Linda. Yvette, do we have anybody else online?
Justin, I noticed that
Charles and
3
Jerry?
beautiful Monterey pines that have been planted up by the Lower Forest Hill Park, just outside of the park on. You've got a little grove going. Thank you.
That's my baby, Forest Hill Park.
How many are there?
There's 3 in that spot.
5 up there on Unibrow, and then we planted a bunch in the park. And
Thank you. Okay, Charles Najarian? Another raise hand?
Charles, go ahead.
Yes, this is Chuck Najarian. I'm a Carmel resident. I'm going to reserve judgment on much of what I heard today. I think I'm encouraged by a lot of it. And I'll just note, I think something behind a lot of these comments that you received today from members of the public is an element of distrust. And I say that because I'll give you a couple examples. In terms of the California Environmental Quality Act, the city, I think, the city assumes that everything is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act. So that's an area that I provided a lot of comment on, because I don't believe that to be the case. So I think that's a layer of lack of environmental and public health review for a number of projects, those relative to the Forest and Beach Commission and those relative to the Planning Commission and other bodies in the city. The other thing that I think created a lot of distrust was the event on, that would be 5th and San Carlos, the northeast corner, where I think it's probably been almost 2 years ago, when a series of pine trees were removed, and I believe close to a dozen, if not a dozen, olive trees were planted in replace of them. And this raised a lot of eyebrows for a lot of people, including myself. And I must have asked this question numerous times about how can that happen? Why did it happen? And I never did receive any response to that. But I think my point is, I'm not trying to relive history. I'm trying to just basically point out that I think there is some distrust. I hope that you proceed in a way where that distrust disappears. I'm encouraged by a lot, like I said, a lot of what I heard today. And that's really I'm reserving a lot of comments because I think this needs to play out a little bit more. But that's what I wanted to say today, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Is there anybody else, Yvette?
Ramey is there. Oh, no, I guess not.
No one at this time.
Okay, thank you. I want to move on to the director's report.
Okay, thank you. A great meeting today, great conversation. I really, again, appreciate everybody's input and comments. We want to do the right thing on our forest. So I'll go through, I'm not going to go through each and every item on the Public Works report, but, we've been trying to fill a second project manager, and we have not been successful. So we've had a couple times now since I've been here, about 3 times we went out and we've tried to make some offers. Thank you for Shari to take the one offer, but other folks are not taking the offers. We made offers and they decline after consideration, and we give another offer and somebody else declined after consideration. So we're stepping back as we look at all those projects. And you asked about, going out and inspection. There's only so many folks that can do all the things we need to do. So we're trying to manage that appropriately. We only have so much capacity, but we're trying to do as best we can to meet, the demands of the city and what you need to do in the city. But we're still going to be going back out. I'm not sure when. We're looking at maybe, for increasing our contracts for project management. That's a little more expensive, but projects continue and work needs to be done. So while we're needing to do work, we're gonna just continue seeking that work with our contractors while we try to work on all our other projects and try to find a project manager. I sent this out last month, but if you go on our website, the Public Works website, and under the forestry section, you'll see the master plan. The presentation I pretty much gave and the write-up is out there with the whole timeline, how we got here, everything else, and all the documents there. I also posted this on the Friday letter, which was put out there. So it's like we try to reach out as much as possible for folks to see where all this information is, where they can see this information, and follow up with that information if they need to. It even talks about how to contact us. Next general messaging is Earth Day and Arbor Day is on Saturday, April 18th. I think there's a media package will come out soon, but just giving you guys to put that on your calendars. Be a fun event and more to come on what really is going to be involved with that. The North Dunes, I know it's been talked about multiple times about getting a contractor out there, and I'm going to be working with my team on an alternative. There's like 2.5 acres of some ice plant removals. We got a quote, but in order to go to our current contractor, they're already at capacity. We have to go back to council and say, can you increase this contract amount? The other option is maybe get another contractor, to put a bid and see what they can do and just open up another contract instead of one contract.
But yeah, by this point in the year, we're already exploring the landscape contracts for next year, and it'd be a lot to get another contractor in the end of this year.
We do have it in our draft CIP for work in the North Dunes area, kind of an ongoing, a major, like, get something really done, then get a design and what kind of planting, because, it's going to continue coming back unless we not only eradicate and remove the invasives, but put something more natural and in its place to help curb the other growth. So that we have it on our CIP for next year for sure.
Can I ask a quickie?
Yes.
This
Yes.
seems like it'd be ripe for a grant. Just that amount of money, it's a small project, just seems like it'd be ripe. Is there
Yes.
any way to explore,
Our environmental management group has been keeping an eye out, and they've been putting grants for multiple projects for us, and we haven't been successful in getting grants. I don't know if it's because a lot of the grants, there's a lot of favoritism of disadvantaged community areas, what needs work and where the money goes. So, but we're ongoing with that one, trying to find where we can get a grant to do this type of work. But it's not really about the money. We have the money to do it. It's just a matter of getting a contract or a current contract uploaded, but ongoing for future. Yes, I 100% agree.
Can
Well,
I
and your
ask too, haven't
resources
we
are really-
used, we used Carmel Cares in the past, and they've pulled together groups. Are they still involved in this? Are we still talking to them about partnering?
We'll partner, when it's a project-based, it's supposed to be city work or city staff, city contract, that does that work. But if it's, maintenance, or, a cleanup,
I think we have used them in the past, though.
yeah.
I don't know if
that's-
we're-
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And we're working, Tom and myself are working with Carmel, like, what can we do, with additional help and services,
Okay.
the extra labor, maybe having a volunteer day of doing some cleanup.
Right.
But, there's more to it than just removing those ice plants. There's like the restoration, we gotta make sure we're doing these things right and the
Right.
restoration afterwards, so.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Let's see, everything else, I'm trying to look at what's new for this month. We finished the sidewalk shaving repairs all over the place. 1,400 locations improved and it's gonna look great. You'll see some of the spots where it does look shaved a little bit, but a little over time, a little weathering, it'll blend itself out. Our CIP for next year is continue doing sidewalk work and repairs around that aren't shaving required. It's more of a construction or capital kind of work. You've all seen the work that's been going around on the paving. We did a lot of paving. Sometimes it can be, I'm sure it can be frustrating for the residents at times, but boy, afterwards, it's really a wonderful sight to see when it's a nice new paving area. And Shari is really paying attention on the after you get it paved, like storm drain diverting water, because it wasn't on the original plan. I don't know why it wasn't thought about, but we're doing change orders to make sure these type of things get added. She's really micro looking like the right thing to do to implement.
Sea looks great.
Yeah, thank you, appreciate that. Shoreline, so we have 100% of the beach stairs design already in. We're waiting for the approval from our planning department, our building department. And we wanted to get this out this month, but there's some just so everybody knows, anything that has to work with, we just discovered, it's anything facility, and the stairs are considered a city facility. Anything that has to do with facility has to have 20% of the expense has to be an ADA or accessibility compliant work. So you gotta identify 20% of that project is some kind of accessibility ADA. So I know the stairs, we can do landings and the rails, but that doesn't cover, if I do both stairs, you're looking at, close to $400,000. So, 20% of that, you're looking, quite a bit of money. So we're working with our building department by identifying areas. It also could be work that leads to it. Doesn't have to be necessarily the stairs, but something that helps the accessibility to that thing. But just knowing when we do these projects that are whether it's facilities, buildings, stairs, et cetera, that requires some 20% ADA accessibility, which is good. We want to make sure people have access and enjoy the beach as well. We want to do both stairs. I want to get them both out of the way this year. We're still on our target. Shari really picked up on this, really pushing our contractors to get some of the adjustments to the package. We're putting our bid package together so we can go out to bid once that building here signs off on our final design. The outfall, we're moving that out. It's still on our list for CIP. We're not going to get to it this year. To me, it's not a, in fact, even the council says they wanted to lower on the priority. They put it at number 2 priority instead of number 1. Sand ramp is more of a number 1. And I agree with them. So we're moving that out. It's something we are going to do and dive deeper in that one. The sand ramp, I want to work on getting something temporary right now. If we can get, working with Rob and folks about pushing up some sand and get some kind of temporary, angle down there for access. But we are doing some geotechnical studies. We're working with that same contractor to get a geotechnical studies all along that area, to include the erosional area that we're working on. So we know what we're working with underneath, just to see where the sandstone is, so we can put a good, solid, one-time sand ramp back into that area so it can last quite a bit longer. we're working back and forth with the contractor on finalizing like the locations and where we're gonna do the boring, to take a sample of where everything's at. But it's still in progress and we're still progressing forward. I wish we can do it in a snap of a finger, but a lot of times it's just like a process through city, through our government processes. We gotta make sure we're doing the right things, and like the scenic pathway repairs and also the erosional repairs that we're working on. We have a contractor where we're working through getting them on contract. We got this person who already walked with us, says, I can do this, and I have an idea, but we need to get them on contract right now. Let's see what else I have. I think that's all I have. I'm not sure if I'm missing anything at all. Yeah, I'm trying to hone it down. We've been doing a lot of work throughout the city, and I'm trying to just focus in on really the major things that affect the Forest and Beach.
This is a huge amount of project work, and thank you for that. And it's pretty clear and obvious to me why you need a second project manager, because managing all this at a level of detail requires a lot of effort. So thank you for that.
I appreciate that, yes. Questions, anybody?
Any questions from anybody? Do we have anybody online? Yvette?
Yes. Linda, go ahead.
Yes, this is for Ken. I was wondering, is this the forum in which to ask about speed bumps in where they really are needed?
It's just public comment, Linda.
Okay, just public comment. Well, I'll make a public comment then about the situation here on Lincoln Street between 4th and 5th. And the degree of traffic past the place through this neighborhood, and wondering if there's anything that can be done to help the neighborhood get safer, because it's quite dangerous. I mean, I walk out my gate and I take my life into my hands, literally. I've nearly gotten run over numerous
Linda?
times, and yeah.
Thank you. This, our public comment is for jurisdictional matters of the Forest and Beach.
I see.
So,
Okay.
perhaps, yeah.
Sorry.
Thank
All
you
right.
so much. So thanks anyway.
Sorry, yeah.
Is there anybody else, Yvette?
No one at this time.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ken. I want to thank you. That is a lot. And, and.
No dessert tonight either.
We appreciate all your efforts. It's fantastic to have you, all of you.
Yeah, and we see it going on in town. There's a lot of diversions of things happening, trees being trimmed or planted or roads, so thank you guys so
Definitely a
much
team effort, definitely.
everything.
I couldn't do this without my team.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, does anybody else have anything? No? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. Boy, not having a tree on the agenda makes it a short.
Yeah.